So this video is going to be a little bit different from my others. Instead of just reading from a script, I'm gonna just have some bullet points here and I'm just gonna kind of talk and see how it goes. So, Slay the Spire 2 came out, and it's already one of the most popular roguelikes on Steam. That's a good sign. Slay the Spire is a roguelike deck builder game, and it's kind of simple to grasp, but it can be very, very complicated very fast. One thing I will also mention, I never played Slay the Spire 1, so all of this is coming from a person who has only played Slay the Spire 2 and doesn't really know about like all the best strategies or anything, because I'm a very casual player of this game. Slay the Spire has 5 characters: Ironclad, Silent, Regent, Necrobinder, and the Defect. Starting with Ironclad, he's the one character you have access to at the start of the game. He has a couple different strategies that you can use to varying degrees of effect. The Ironclad has a defend build where you just kind of build a ton of block and just never take any damage. They have an exhaust build where they exhaust every single card in their deck to do 1,000,000 damage. They have strength build where you can give yourself just 1,000,000 strength to also deal a crap ton of damage. They have vulnerable build, which is building a bunch of stacks of vulnerable on the enemies, which makes them take 50% more damage. Or you have strike build, where you get a bunch of different strike cards and just kind of go from there. Overall, the Ironclad is very fun. He's probably my second favorite character in the game, and his design is really sick. I like how there's a ton of motifs about like demonic deals and stuff like that. It's really cool. Next is the Silent, who you get by just playing one run of Ironclad. Silent strategies are a lot more cut and dry, less kind of interwoven between strategies. There's the Shiv build, where you just get a bunch of Shivs from various cards and throw them at enemies. There's Poison build, where you just build up a ton of poison and just slowly kill the enemies over time. And then there's Discard build, where you discard all your cards, but they get played anyway because they have a specific modifier called Sly. Overall, the Silent is very fun, but they're definitely not my favorite. The design is really cool though. I really like the almost like deer, like skull on their face, plus the green hood. It's very, very cool. Next is the Regent, who is very, very fun. Regent has a couple different builds, but only one of them, in my experience, is super effective. There's the Forge build, where you build up a ton of Forge stacks in order to make this blade, the Sovereign Blade, stronger. There's the Minion build, where you just get a crap ton of minions that exhaust themselves, but do various things like block, deal a bunch of damage, stuff like that. And then there's the Star build, where you use his special mechanic, Stars, in order to deal a crap ton of damage. And honestly, the Star build is the only one I found to be reasonably effective. All the other ones take too long to set up or leave you very vulnerable, but the Star build just constantly keeps building onto itself more and more, so it feels like that's the only one that's any reasonable effectiveness. I really like the design of Regent though. They're like this vaguely star and cosmic being sitting on top of a throne while their minions carry it for them. It's great. Next is the Necrobinder. The Necrobinder is obviously a necromancer of some kind, and their strategies either involve themselves doing a crap ton of one thing, or their little minion guy named Osti doing most of the work. First is Doom build, where you build up a crap ton of stacks of this thing called Doom, which, when reaching a certain amount of stacks on an enemy, they will instantly die, depending on what health they're at. There are Soul builds, which you get a crap ton of these cards called Soul that let you draw 2 cards. It's basically just a pot of greed. There's Osti, who can do a crap ton of damage on his own, but the problem is you need to get summons up. This strategy is reasonably effective for what I've seen though. And there's also one strategy, it's similar to Ironclad strategy, except you want to avoid exhausting cards because they're ethereal, which basically just means they'll be exhausted at the end of your turn if you don't play them. Overall, the Necrobinder is probably my least favorite character, but that doesn't mean they're bad or anything. They're pretty fun still, and I really like their design. Next is my favorite character in the game, the Defect. And honestly, he's my favorite because there are just so many different things you can do with him. Defect's main gimmick is that he has these slots for orbs, and orbs have a passive and an evoke ability. Passives just will activate at the end of your turn, and evokes only activate whenever you do something to actually evoke it, using certain cards or abilities and such. Off the top of my head, there's 5 different orbs. There's lightning, there's frost, there's darkness, there's plasma, and there's glass. Each one of these has their own build, and they're all very fun. And then there's also a claw build, which is incredible. And then there's also a couple other different strategies interwoven in there. Overall, the Defect is incredibly fun, and I absolutely love his design. I love how his core, it's not like this little thing on his chest, it basically covers his entire like stomach area, or where his stomach would be if he wasn't a robot, I guess. The maps are all pretty cool. As far as I'm aware, the first act has 2 maps, and then the second and third act both only have 1, which is kind of a shame, but I kind of also understand why it's still in early access, but I would like to see more maps. The different enemies in each act are fine. I really like the enemies in the grasslands of the first act. The docks of the first act are a little bit more annoying enemy-wise. And the Act 2 enemies are fine. Mostly the elites are just kind of a problem. And the third act enemies are also kind of fine. Like, some of them are really, really annoying, but others are really, really easy to deal with. There's really no in-between with them. The bosses are all really, really cool. Each map has about 2 different bosses, sometimes 3. So there's a lot of different variety in what you can find during your runs, but there have been multiple times where I've gone on multiple runs where it's just the same exact final bosses of each act back to back. It can be a little bit annoying, but it's mostly fun. The balance of the game is surprisingly good, besides a couple strategies just not being very effective for certain characters. But again, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm still not that good at this game, which is fair. But I really like that the developers are kind of trying to make the game harder, it seems like, because in their most recent beta patch, they've removed a lot of the infinites that you could do before, which is very fair. I feel like infinites were very easy to do and they were very effective. I don't understand the people complaining that they want to make the game harder. I feel like that's the whole point. Like, roguelikes are meant to be hard. It just kind of makes sense that they would try to make the game harder. But I honestly, like, I would understand if they're going about it in a very dumb way, but they're going about it a very nice way. Like, the developers are doing what they can. They're talking about why they're changing things, and they're not introducing these features in the game immediately, which I think is the best part. They're introducing them in a separate beta branch with people testing them out, seeing how they like it, and then adding it to the game later, which I think is probably the best way to do this, especially in early access. Overall, Slay the Spire is a really, really good game. I would recommend it to basically anybody, and I cannot wait for the full game to come out. Alright, next video I promise will be a lot higher effort. I'm just working on a massive project right now, and I just kind of need a couple burner videos, so as for right now, that's about all I got. See ya.
You want us to be on top of each other?
Plasma's unaffected by focus. I mean, that makes sense, but no.
Do you know how fucking broken that would be, bro?
I know, but it would be funny.
It would be funny.
Give me my funny.
That's undeniable.
It's undeniable. That would be really funny. Why not?
More fusion, please.
Waiter, more fusion, please.
Hey, yo. What?
You when I'm about to plow my... Never mind.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
You when I'm about to plow my friends?